If you've ever been to the iconic Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, or dream of the crystal-clear waters of the Maldives, make sure to capture these moments. According to some studies, the images and videos you record today may be the only memories of what these cities once were. The future of these and other major cities might resemble that of Atlantis, the legendary city, which, although part of fiction, still carries the idea of an apocalyptic fate. But unlike the mythical Atlantis, the risks for some of these cities are real and very close. Rising sea levels, volcanoes, earthquakes, and even human actions are threats that could lead them to disappear. I am John, narrator of the Global Enigma channel, and today we will explore some of the cities and countries that are at risk of disappearing in the coming decades or even centuries. Before we dive into this journey, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any mystery we reveal here. Let's begin our journey in one of the most well-known cities in the United States, San Francisco, in the heart of California. A vibrant cultural and financial hub, San Francisco is one of the largest icons of Northern California, famous for its unique culture, stunning landscapes, and, of course, the imposing Golden Gate Bridge. However, behind this beauty lies a threat that could change everything at any moment. San Francisco lives under the constant threat of a mega-earthquake caused by the dreaded San Andreas Fault. This massive crack, which runs through California, is where two enormous tectonic plates meet, and their movement generates seismic instability in the region. And the predictions are frightening. According to recent studies, there is an alarming 75% chance that an earthquake of up to 9 on the Richter scale will strike the city by 2086. To get an idea of the magnitude, an earthquake of this intensity could cause widespread destruction, affecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people. At any moment, the ground beneath San Francisco could shake devastatingly, leaving behind an unrecognizable city. What was once just a distant warning is now a palpable and ever-increasing reality. Now, we travel to the iconic city of Venice, Italy. Known worldwide for its charming canals, historic architecture, and the allure that attracts millions of tourists each year, Venice is one of the most romantic destinations on the planet. However, this city, which seems eternal, is slowly succumbing to the power of nature. Venice is sinking. This phenomenon has been recognized by scientists for decades, but unfortunately, it continues to worsen. The main cause is the pumping of groundwater that has been practiced over the years, combined with the soil compaction caused by centuries of construction on it. Additionally, the Adriatic tectonic plate, where Venice is situated, is subdividing, causing the city and its surroundings to gradually sink. The process is slow but alarming. According to recent studies, Venice sinks between 1 to 2 millimeters per year. It may seem small, but if it continues at this rate, the city will be 80 millimeters lower in just 20 years. For a city built on water, any change in the sea level can be fatal. Although the process is gradual, the threat is real, and if no effective intervention is made, Venice may disappear beneath the waters, transforming into a historical relic that, in the future, will be remembered only by photos and videos. To the north of Latin America, we find Mexico City, one of the most populous and vibrant metropolises in the world. With over 20 million inhabitants, the Mexican capital is a cultural, economic, and political hub of enormous importance. However, behind its grandeur, the city faces an invisible yet devastating threat: the gradual sinking of the ground. Although not located directly on the coast, Mexico City is sinking at an alarming rate. Some areas of the metropolitan region have sunk up to 40 centimeters per year, and, in just 1 century, the city has already sunk an impressive 10 meters. This is due to a complex phenomenon, where the region's clayey soil, unstable and fragile, is overloaded by the rampant extraction of groundwater. This process began in the 14th century when the Aztecs founded the city over Lake Texcoco. However, with the exponential growth of the population and the increasing demand for water resources since the 1940s, groundwater extraction accelerated, further weakening the soil and speeding up the sinking process. The result? The city is literally sinking, with some areas sinking up to 7 centimeters per year, creating an unsustainable situation in the long term. The city is adapting, but the effects of this sinking are not only visible in the infrastructure and buildings. The impact on drainage systems and the risk of flooding are a growing reality. Mexico City risks becoming even more vulnerable if this phenomenon is not controlled soon. Located in the Naples region of Italy, the Campi Flegrei supervolcano is one of the most feared natural forces on the planet. This enormous volcanic system, considered one of the largest in the world, represents an imminent threat, although it may appear invisible at first glance. Campi Flegrei is a vast caldera, where a complex combination of geothermal activity, past eruptions, and constant underground pressure exists. The last significant eruption occurred about 39,000 years ago, but the supervolcano remains active to this day, with signs that the internal pressure of the Earth is steadily accumulating beneath the surface. What is most alarming is that, despite its activity seeming silent, the supervolcano is literally bubbling. Scientists have already recorded small tremors and an anomalous rise in the ground, a clear sign that something is happening beneath this immense caldera. It is estimated that, if this supervolcano were to erupt, it could release thousands of cubic kilometers of volcanic material, destroying vast areas and altering the global climate for years. Scientists and Italian authorities are closely monitoring the volcano, but the risk is real. A catastrophic eruption could affect millions of people and have global consequences, as an eruption of such magnitude could cause a volcanic winter, lowering global temperatures and impacting agriculture and food supply in various parts of the world. In a densely populated region like Naples, with the population living so close to this colossal force of latent power, the risk has never been greater. The Campi Flegrei supervolcano is a constant reminder of the fragility of our existence in the face of the uncontrollable power of nature. Located on the majestic west coast of Norway, the Grande Fjord is one of the most stunning and, at the same time, most threatening destinations on the planet. This fjord, surrounded by towering mountains and deep waters, hides a fascinating geological history and, beneath its beauty, a risk that many are unaware of. Although the region is famous for its breathtaking landscape and tranquility, there is an invisible natural danger looming over it. The Grande Fjord, in particular, is vulnerable to a geological phenomenon known as underwater landslides. This occurs when large volumes of land and rocks slide into the sea, causing a series of giant waves or tsunamis. The greatest risk to this area comes from a structural fault in the mountains surrounding the fjord, a fault that, if it were to break, could trigger a catastrophic landslide, creating waves as high as 80 meters. The history of landslides in Grande Fjord is not something new. In 1934, a landslide generated waves that hit the nearby coast, but the region has never seen an event of the magnitude of a potential total catastrophe. Scientists studying the area warn of the increasing instability of these mountains. They closely monitor the signs of movement and instability in the rocks, indicating that a major landslide could occur at any moment. While locals and tourists enjoy the serene beauty of this region, the threat of a tsunami triggered by a landslide remains a constant risk. If this were to happen, the devastation in the areas around the fjord would be immense, with coastal cities being swallowed by the massive waves and marine and terrestrial life being drastically affected. The Grande Fjord, with all its grandeur and apparent tranquility, reminds us of the uncontrollable power of nature and the unpredictability of disasters that can arise when we least expect them. Peresnik, a little-known town in the heart of Russia, harbors a secret that few outside its borders are aware of. Located in the Sverdlovsk region, central Russia, Peresnik appears to be an ordinary town at first glance. However, beneath its surface lies a deadly danger that could alter the course of the region's history. Peresnik is situated near one of the world's largest natural gas fields, a field with a unique and alarming characteristic. Beneath the layers of earth and stone in the town, an ancient geological fault is storing vast amounts of methane. This gas, common in underground deposits, can become highly volatile and dangerous, especially if triggered by an earthquake or other significant disturbance. The most feared threat is what geologists term a gas explosion. This occurs when accumulated methane is released uncontrollably, leading to a massive explosion or even a catastrophic fire. To make matters worse, This area is located in an active seismic zone, further increasing the risk of disaster. Studies of Beresnik and its geological threats reveal that a gas explosion could affect not only the town but also nearby areas, creating a wave of destruction and long-term consequences for the region. Additionally, the methane released into the atmosphere would have serious environmental implications, contributing to global warming and climate imbalance. Although Beresnik is not widely recognized in the news, the potential danger it faces is real and far greater than many imagine. The story of Beresnik serves as a reminder that there are places in the world where the apocalypse can come in unexpected forms, not through volcanic eruptions or tsunamis, but through subterranean disasters, invisible until it's too late. Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, is a vibrant metropolis, full of life and energy. But beneath its bustling and modern surface, the city faces a growing threat that could push it to the brink of collapse. Situated in the heart of a disaster-prone region, Jakarta is suffering from rising sea levels, a crisis that has been intensifying in recent decades and threatens to devastate the city in the near future. The main cause behind this threat is the city's constant sinking. Jakarta is sinking at an alarming rate of about 2 to 3 centimeters per year, and in some areas, this sinking can reach up to 10 centimeters. This is due to the excessive extraction of groundwater, which weakens the foundations of the city and causes the soil to sink. But the risk doesn't end there. Jakarta is also located near the Java Sea, and the rising sea levels caused by climate change are making the city's coastal areas increasingly vulnerable to flooding. Without adequate containment measures, floods could become more frequent and devastating, affecting millions of people living in low-lying areas. In an even more concerning scenario, Jakarta is situated in the midst of intense seismic activity, which means that a major earthquake could not only worsen the city's sinking but also accelerate the damage caused by floods. If this combination of factors is not addressed effectively, the city could face an even greater catastrophe, with catastrophic consequences for its inhabitants. What is particularly alarming is that, without urgent action, Jakarta runs the risk of becoming one of the cities most affected by climate change and natural disasters, forcing its millions of residents to face an uncertain future, where the land that is today the heart of Indonesia could turn into a vast swamp, submerged and swallowed by water. The Maldives, a tropical paradise in the heart of the Indian Ocean, are famous for their crystal-clear waters, white sandy beaches, and stunning coral reefs. A dream destination for tourists from all over the world, the Maldives is seen as a haven of untouched natural beauty. However, behind this idyllic landscape, the islands face an existential threat that could jeopardize their very survival. With an average elevation of only 1 meter above sea level, the Maldives is among the most vulnerable countries to rising sea levels caused by climate change. Scientists warn that, unless carbon emissions are drastically reduced, the Maldives could become uninhabitable in the coming decades. The rising sea levels, accelerated by the melting polar ice caps, are already causing beach erosion and flooding coastal areas, forcing the population to move to higher ground. The situation is even more critical because the Maldives' infrastructure heavily relies on tourism, and the loss of the islands would not only affect the local ecosystem but also the economy of an entire nation. Additionally, the tropical waters that currently house a rich biodiversity of corals and fish are warming, which threatens one of the world's largest coral reef systems, vital for the environmental health and economy of the country. The future of the Maldives depends on significant global action to combat climate change, but if nothing is done, the islands may slowly disappear beneath the waters, leaving behind only memories and photographs of a lost paradise. Rio de Janeiro, one of the most iconic cities in Brazil and the world, is known for its beautiful beaches, stunning mountains, and the famous Christ the Redeemer statue that watches over the city from above. However, beneath its beauty, Rio faces a serious threat that could compromise its future: the growing natural risks and the increasing pressure of urban development. The city is located in a geographically vulnerable region, with hills and mountainous areas that suffer from landslides during heavy rains. Flooding is frequent, and Rio de Janeiro has already experienced devastating tragedies, such as the 2010 flood, which left hundreds dead and thousands homeless. But this is only part of the problem. The increasing rainfall, intensified by climate change, is making the city more susceptible to landslides. Uncontrolled urbanization, with irregular constructions in high-risk areas, further exacerbates the situation. Additionally, Rio de Janeiro is facing a rise in extreme weather events, such as strong winds and flooding, which put not only the city's infrastructure at risk but also the lives of its inhabitants. And it's not just the weather conditions that threaten the city. The rapid expansion of urban areas is destroying conservation zones and deforesting the forests around the city. This not only reduces nature's ability to absorb rainwater but also diminishes local biodiversity, affecting the natural ecosystems that make Rio unique. Rio de Janeiro, a world-renowned tourist destination with a vibrant culture, is becoming increasingly vulnerable to these natural disasters. To ensure that Rio continues to be a symbol of beauty and history, a commitment to environmental preservation, sustainable urban planning, and adaptation to climate change is essential. If urgent action is not taken, the future of this marvelous city may be at risk, and the loss of its natural beauty will be not only a great tragedy but also a sign of the irreversible impact humans can have on the planet. As the years go by, major cities around the world are becoming increasingly vulnerable to natural disasters and catastrophes, driven by a combination of factors such as climate change, overpopulation, and unchecked urbanization. Regardless of the continent, the problem remains the same. The risk of a major tragedy is always lurking. In some regions, the devastating effects of climate change are already a reality. In coastal cities, rising sea levels threaten to submerge entire neighborhoods. In large metropolises built in earthquake-prone regions, the risk of a major quake that could claim thousands of lives is ever present. And in other places, the lack of infrastructure to deal with storms and floods increases the vulnerability of millions of people living in precarious conditions. Cities like Jakarta, Indonesia, are already facing a collapse of their infrastructure due to rising sea levels and land subsidence, while others, like Manila, in the Philippines, are struggling with the effects of accelerated urbanization in disaster-prone regions. On the other hand, in places like Mumbai, India, the lack of sustainable urban planning exacerbates the impact of floods and droughts, creating a vicious cycle of vulnerability. In Latin America, cities like Lima, Peru, suffer from water scarcity, while in Africa, cities like Lagos, Nigeria, deal with population growth and a lack of basic resources. Even in the most developed cities, such as New York and Tokyo, the threat of natural disasters is never fully eliminated, with hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis looming. The world is becoming increasingly interconnected, but also more vulnerable. The rapid urbanization and unchecked growth of cities mean we are building for the future in an unsustainable way, without fully considering the risks we are creating for future generations. What is at stake is not only the infrastructure or the economy of these cities, but also human lives. The future of many of these metropolises is at risk, and the question is, how long will we continue to live on the edge of collapse without significant actions to mitigate these dangers? As we explore these cities around the world, we realize that the future is uncertain. The threats of natural disasters, once seeming distant or unlikely, are becoming increasingly real and imminent. Many of these cities are on the brink of collapse, whether due to the uncontrollable nature of the approaching events or the consequences of human choices that ignored the warning signs. But amid this darkness, there is a chance to learn from what is happening and, perhaps, to act before it is too late. What happens in major cities affects all of us, as we live in a globally connected world where the destruction of a metropolis can trigger a series of consequences that reverberate across the planet. Now, more than ever, it is essential to reflect on the impact our actions have on the future of the next generations. The choices we make, both individually and collectively, can help mitigate the damage and perhaps even prevent catastrophe. What about you? Are you aware of what is at stake? What can be done to change the course of things, both in your city and the world? If you care about the future and want to understand more about the risks and how we can act to protect our planet, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Don't forget to like and share this video to spread more awareness about these crucial issues. Together, we can make a difference. Until the next video.